I would like us to spend some time thinking about jewelry coming from the Four Corners region, especially the Navajo, but also some of the Pueblo dwellers as well. And one of the reasons I care about this is that it is a very visible display of the voices of Native Americans today. Many of you perhaps own Native American jewelry, or that at the very least have seen people wearing it. So I think we need to appreciate it and understand perhaps some of the meanings that are associated with it and the implications for history that's attached to the jewelry. Native Americans in the Four Corners region have for a very long time crafted jewelry. Initially, there were samples that archaeologists have found that were made out of shell, but we also know that the gemstone turquoise was incredibly important to the people of this region, and that they actually left it as offerings, probably being used for ritual purposes in Chaco Canyon, especially in Pueblo Bonito, but and also in some of the other great houses. We assume that there's a kind of parallel use for turquoise in the Native American worlds, especially of the Four Corners, parallel with the use of jade in Mesoamerica. And you can go back and think of the Olmec, just for example, burying jade under the mosaic floors of some of their ceremonial centers. Chaco Canyon also, in particular, is going to acquire turquoise, and turquoise is going to be brought in from somewhat of a distant place, which is going to imply to us that it has a value, that it has a worth, because it is not a common commodity. They're going to work it, and we believe that they actually control it ritually, adding to the allure of the pilgrimage associations that we believe may be a part of Chaco Canyon. By the middle of the 19th century, the Navajos are going to learn to use silver. They're smiths, they're blacksmiths, the folks who worked in other metals. And we believe that they actually learn from Mexican craftsmen. And I would like to stress the connection between what we might count as Mesoamerica and North America, because there was one, and there is an exchange of ideas along with it. But I'd also like to stress something that I think is even more important, and that is the reason that for the Navajo, jewelry became such an important expression of their own identity and of their own wealth. And I think it is two parts. One, they have a very strong nomadic or semi-nomadic history anyway. Remember that they took this long journey down from the northern part of Canada into the Four Corners region. Folks who are nomadic or semi-nomadic tend to create things that are small and portable. But in addition to that, once they arrived and settled in the Four Corners, they then were uprooted by the Western government, so that they again were controlled and lost their possessions and were moved. And as a result of this, in this kind of, I'm going to say, continuous sense of loss of position in the world, they may have created attachments to portable jewelry or to portable adornments. In other words, if you lose control over your land, if you lose control over your possessions, what can you control? Well, you can control what you wear. This becomes then a new way to express the wealth that you have, because turquoise was a valuable stone and silver was highly respected and appreciated. But more than that, I think it is associated with identity of the people. And I would like you to listen to the video that I have on Navajo rug making. The woman who is presenting the talk actually takes time out to talk about the fact that she doesn't go anywhere without her jewelry, because it's who she is. And also she believes that it is protective in nature. So the origins of jewelry, as we kind of understand it today, coming from the Four Corners, really begins in the 19th century, middle to late 19th century. By the time we hit the 20th century, jewelry is being made in, I'm going to say, a more sophisticated way. By that I mean Native Americans begin to reinterpret traditions of jewelry making for a global market. And they are very successful in doing that, and jewelry making becomes an important economic source for Native Americans, and that continues well into the 21st century. Much of this originates with the Navajo, and then from the Navajo, that teaching will spread to Zuni and Hopi, and it too will be associated with their income revenue, but also with their own identity and who they are. All of this suggests an openness and an artistic growth that is a part of the jewelry making process, as it also was in pottery and weaving and everything else that allowed Native Americans to express themselves creatively. So we see, and let's go to 226 in our textbook, which is on the left of the slide that we're looking at now. This is in the Santa Fe Museum. And it was created somewhere around in the 1880s, we believe. It is a blend of native to North America, the Native Americans, and the Christian traditions, and those, of course, are European coming in. So blending and mixing together into one. And it's a pretty clear expression of the way in which cultures merge together, but the way in which artists respond to that kind of convergence. We have obviously a necklace that displays the Christian cross, and that gives us our Christian symbolism. But when Christianity arrives in the New World, one of the cross forms that was presented was a double-armed cross. And you can see one down here, the biggest of them, right down here with a double arm. For Native Americans, what that referenced was the dragonfly with its double set of wings. And the dragonfly is an incredibly important image in nature, creature in nature, that is associated with a number of things, but primarily with pure water, with water. The dragonfly lives in the water before going through metamorphosis and turning into a creature that can fly. So it changes, it transforms. It's associated with happiness and with purity, but most of all, in this dry region, it's associated with water and life-giving water. So the two of these images, these sources, these symbolic sources, blend together into a single depiction. The Christian cross essentially merging with the dragonfly, both providing promises of life and salvation and continuation. At the very bottom of that cross, there is, I'm going to call it an abstract image, and I think it's decorated with floral vegetation. And that is a Christian image translating the Sacred Heart of Jesus that's been attached to this. In other words, referencing the sacrifice of Jesus. The necklace on our right is a little more recent. It's about 50 years old. It's referred to as a squash blossom necklace, which is one of the traditional forms. It was first made by the Navajo, and it still is made by the Navajo. It's been adopted by the Zuni and the Hopi as well, but we do associate it with the Navajo. We give them credit essentially for it. It is based upon a floral shape, and there is some disagreement about the actual source or symbolic origin for the flowers. But if you go up here, you're going to see something that does look like a flower, and each one of these kind of tear-shaped turquoise, I'm going to call it a petal, does seem to flow out from a central design. We don't know for sure if this is actually derived from the squash blossom. Let's just take a look at a squash blossom. Okay, this is a depiction, the yellow one, is a squash blossom flower, and if you look at the petals of each section, you're going to see it is kind of teardrop shape, and maybe that's a source. Some people think it is. Other people think that this was actually derived from a Spanish design that was a depiction of a pomegranate. This is a cross section here of a pomegranate, and if you think of this as the center as the center, and then these is the petals. And this is a Spanish colonial carving of a pomegranate. The pomegranate for the Spanish was protective. It was a symbol essentially of protection and also of good luck. So either is possible as a source. Let's return to this as a source for the quote-unquote squash blossom necklace, which has become so significant and associated with the Navajo. There's another part of this, though, and that down here we're pretty sure, not totally, but pretty sure, this may be derived from Spanish designs of the crescent moon, which was believed to be protective. And this would have come out of Spain in terms of Moorish influence, Islamic influence with the crescent moon as an image that could protect the person who carries it or who displays it. Point being that this rather magnificent necklace is almost certainly a kind of conflation of influences and of ideas. And that's one of the things that's typical of Navajo jewelry making. Lest you have the tendency to dismiss these items as, oh, that's just jewelry, they do convey basic beliefs of the Navajo and of the Zuni and the Hopi as well. There are also many of them highly collected today. They do appear in museums. Certainly the one on the left already is in a museum, but I'd just like you to know that the one on the right has a price tag of $5,000. So these things are also highly valued, not just for their base materials, turquoise and silver, but also for the craftsmanship and the designs that are part of them.